Today we are cracking open one of the biggest financial mysteries out there. You know the one. We're going to figure out where your money actually goes. And trust me, the answer is probably not what you're expecting. Okay, let's get into it, right? It is the most frustrating feeling. Your paycheck lands, you pay the rent, the car payment, the big stuff, and then poof, the rest of it just kind of vanishes into thin air. You're left at the end of the month staring at your balance thinking, how is that possible? Where did it all go? And that quote right there, that's the whole secret. We're always on the lookout for some huge, catastrophic expense to blame. But the real problem, it's usually something much sneakier. It's not a giant hole in the boat. It's 1,000 tiny invisible leaks that slowly sink you. So let's give this problem a name. We'll call it the invisible leak. It's everything we buy that's so small, so insignificant, that it just sails right under our financial radar without a second thought. The technical term for these little things is ant expenses. Think about it. They're tiny everyday purchases that feel like they cost nothing. The danger isn't the single ant. It's the entire colony working together, day after day, draining your resources. So, what are we really talking about here? Oh, you know the stuff. It's that coffee you grab on the way to work. It's the 3 streaming services you forgot you're even paying for. Those sneaky food delivery fees, the little in-app purchases that unlock the next level, even paying a few bucks to use an out-of-network ATM. In the moment, each one feels like, what's the big deal? Let's just take one super simple, super relatable example. A $4 coffee. That's it. It's your little morning ritual. A small treat to start the day. What's $4? It feels like absolutely nothing. But here's the kicker. That $4 5 days a week, week after week, it adds up. Over a whole year, that tiny harmless habit turns into an $840 expense. And suddenly, it doesn't feel so tiny anymore, does it? That shows you it's not the price. It's the repetition that gets you. Okay, so if the math is that simple, why do we keep falling for it? Well, it turns out our own minds are kind of wired to work against us. There are some really powerful psychological reasons we just don't see these leaks happening. First up, there's this thing called mental accounting. It's a funny quirk of the brain, where we decide that not all money is created equal. We might pinch every penny on our grocery bill, but then turn around and spend freely from our vacation fund or fun money pile, even though, it's all coming from the exact same bank account. And then there's biased optimism. This is that little voice in your head that whispers, oh, a flat tire, a surprise medical bill. That happens to other people, not me. It causes us to constantly underestimate what we'll need for the future, which makes us feel like we have way more spending money right now than we actually do. And of course, the world we live in makes this all 1,000 times easier. Think about it. Tap to pay, one-click checkout, saved credit cards. All of it is designed to remove what psychologists call the pain of paying. When you don't physically hand over cash, the transaction barely even registers. It's spending on autopilot. All right, so we get it. These tiny leaks are a real problem. So, what does all the standard financial advice tell us we should do about it? You've probably heard this before. The classic playbook is a 4-step process, right? First, you track literally every penny. Then, you sit down and ruthlessly cut out all the non-essentials. Third, you make a budget that accounts for these little things. And finally, you take all that money you saved and point it towards a big goal. And look, it's logical. It makes sense. For some people, it works. But hold on a second. Here's a different question. Is this really the best use of your limited time and energy? Do you really want to spend your brain power every single day agonizing over a $4 coffee? This brings us to a totally different way of thinking. What if instead of chasing down every last tiny leak, you focused all your energy on preventing the once-in-a-lifetime floods? Let's talk about hunting for the big wins. Just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got the daily grind, that constant mental debate about every little purchase that eats up your willpower. On the other side, you have a concentrated one-time effort to get a few massive life decisions right, an effort that pays dividends for decades. So, let's put some real numbers on this. Let's talk about buying a house. What if you put in the effort to get a great credit score and negotiated just a 10% lower price on a medium-priced home? That single effort could save you over $92,000. Or how about college for your kids? Choosing an in-state public school and really going after scholarships versus a private or out-of-state option. That's a potential savings of over $115,000, and that's per kid. Even a wedding. The national average is pretty high, but it's totally possible to have a beautiful wedding for way less. Just making that one decision to be smart about it can easily save you over $25,000. Okay, so the savings from just those 3 big decisions are obviously huge, but that's only half the story. The real magic happens when you don't just save that money, but you invest it and let it grow. Are you ready for this? If you took this savings from just those 3 big wins, the house, the college, the wedding, and invested it at a pretty average return, you'd be looking at a gain of over $782,000. I mean, that is life-changing money. That's enough to buy a lifetime of daily coffees for everyone you know and still be incredibly wealthy. So what's the takeaway here? Should you just ignore all the small stuff or stress about every penny? The real answer, I think, is about finding the right focus for your life. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about depriving yourself. It's about being intentional. It's about making sure your money, whether it's $4,000 or $40,000, is going toward things that you actually truly value. It's about being conscious of the choices you make, both big and small. So, I'll leave you with this to think about when it comes to your own financial life. Where is your focus? Are you dedicating all your energy to plugging the tiny daily drips? Or are you preparing yourself to navigate the massive, once-in-a-lifetime events that will truly define your future? Because where you choose to focus, that's going to make all the difference.